Well, good morning. It's great to see everyone. Appreciate you taking the time to come out this morning. We've had some beautiful weather here in Buffalo. So we're past the midway point through camp, and before I get into the weeds about our team and the things you guys want to talk about today, I first want to thank Adam Ridler, who oversees grounds here at UB. He and his crew did a great job doing some drainage work and some landscaping work out in front of our facility. It looks fabulous, and anytime you have people going the extra mile for you, I'm very grateful for that. We also had a young man named Brian Lovering who spent the better part of his summer power washing the south stands, which you can imagine how monotonous of a job that was. But you know, he put his earbuds in every day and got up there and cranked away. And while we were doing summer workouts, we watched him do a little section by section, and that whole area looks a whole lot better right now. So grateful for that. You know, from a macro standpoint, we as a program always put a huge emphasis on fundamentals. So on the field, those are the things that you do every day. You know, the movements, the techniques, how you block, how you tackle, how you carry the football, how you take care of the football, the decisions you make with the football, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? It all comes down to those fundamentals and decision making. But we've got fundamentals that we try to adhere to off the field as well. And that starts with bringing in really good people that fit the culture that we're trying to build, and I think we continue to do that. We've done a really good job of retaining good people, both on the team and on the staff. I'm very proud of that. And then we're always looking for little creative ways to improve and enhance what we do. And some of those things might fly under the radar to somebody outside of the building, but we're constantly looking for ways to tweak those things. So for example, this summer we started a senior retreat where we took our guys in their final season of eligibility to downtown Buffalo, did a series of meetings and presentations, and then took them out and about and finished off the day with a great experience at Milton Cat and North Tonawanda. And those things are the kind of value added that we're always looking for in our program. Our guys have done a fantastic job in the classroom. Last fall, we had the program's highest ever 3.18 GPA. We followed that up with almost a 3.1 in the spring. And as a result of those two great semesters, while it's unofficial and it won't be posted until this fall, we'll have the program's highest APR in history, which is what the academic progress rate that the NCAA tracks every student athlete in your program, and whether they're staying on track to graduate and progress towards degree and making GPA requirements and things of that nature. So guys are doing a great job embracing the expectations from an academic standpoint. We've worked really hard for a year and a half to immerse ourselves in this Western New York community. We had 12 players that conducted summer internships in some different companies around Buffalo, and that was great for them to get that kind of work experience, real world experience, and also an opportunity to connect with some meaningful people here in the community. And we're constantly trying to do some impactful community service type projects. So all those things, along with winning some games, lead to more visibility for the football program. And they certainly lead to more visibility for the university as a whole. Rewinding all the way back to January, we had well over 1.1 million people watch our bowl game in the Bahamas. That was like a 3.5-hour commercial for the university, and that's the reason, one of the reasons why we do what we do and play football at this level. We want to be an inclusive program, so that means we're always looking for meaningful ways to connect with all of our constituents, and we even work at that during preseason camp. So that's got to start with me. I've got to lead with by example, and then I've got to challenge everyone else around me to do the exact same thing. And really proud that we've started to attract some new donors to the program as well, and getting more people involved, particularly in this day and age where bringing in resources and trying to best utilize those resources are really, really important. We've got 7 home games this fall, so that's fabulous. That's something that doesn't often happen at a group of 5 program, and the way the schedule laid out, we're really looking forward to having some really good games here at home, whether they're Mid-American Conference opponents or some outstanding out-of-conference opponents that are coming in. And so this is a group of guys, this is a team, in my opinion, that's done all the right things. We've won some games, maybe when a lot of people didn't expect us to. We've been out and about in the community, and so, you know, it's a marketing director's dream in terms of attracting people to games here. So I really hope that we'll have a great environment for our home games this fall, and give these players the kind of support that they deserve after everything they've done to invest in our program. We'll talk a lot more about our opening game, which is just under 2 weeks away. We'll have an opportunity to reconvene and do that. But obviously we've got a big challenge on the road to open the season, and so we've got a lot of work to do here in the coming days to keep preparing and to get ready for that challenge. And one thing I look for in any segment, whether it's winter workouts, spring ball, summer workouts, preseason camp, is you're looking for signs of improvement, and that improvement could be a single player, that could be a unit, that could be an entire side of the ball, one of the 3 phases. And we've definitely seen some of that in a noticeable way here over the last couple weeks. I think there's been some flashes of really excellent play, and then quite frankly, there's been moments of inconsistency that we've got to still figure those things out and have a sense of urgency to improve. But there's definitely guys making progress, and there's definitely some new guys that I believe are going to be able to step up and help this team. As many of you already know, we have a relatively small group of transfers. We didn't have a lot of guys go into the transfer portal. We were one of the lowest in the country in terms of that kind of turnover, and then as a result, we didn't bring in many transfers. But we were very, very selective about the guys that we pursued. We were very thoughtful about the roles that we hoped that they would play. And one of the things that excites me about that group of guys is how well they fit in, how well they've acclimated themselves, how quickly they have blended themselves into that locker room and become tight-knit with the rest of the team. And in terms of what they're doing on the field, they are producing in a kind of way that we hoped they would. Jake Tim came in and had big shoes to fill at the center role for Don Palizzi, and Jake's doing a really nice job. He's been very comfortable here almost since the day he arrived. Miles Greer was a guy that really flew under the radar, played at Division II Shepherd College, and this guy's just a baller. He's quiet, he's low maintenance, but every day in practice, you know, you see him stand out, whether it's on defense, running the alley in the run game, or matching up in coverage. He's had a bunch of interceptions and pass breakups, and he's also a really good special teams player. Tez Bradley has done a nice job at corner. Mitch Gonzer, Harvard transfer linebacker's been very productive, made some plays. Josiah Gaithings, receiver, who was a late addition, has made some plays at receiver. And then Taquan Roberson at quarterback, and the other guys as well. I'm very, very pleased with that entire group. One of the most pleasant surprises this preseason has been the performance of our specialists. Jack Howes and Oliver Houtenden, two new kickers to the program. One a veteran guy who's got Big Ten experience, and one a late addition freshman out of high school. And they're both doing extremely well. Both have really good legs, really good mechanics, and both have made some pressure kicks, and I think both will be solid kickoff guys. So it's good to have two good players there. And then Dylan Drennan and Ethan Stump are still in a battle for the punting duties, but both of those guys have done some good things as well. And it's very comforting for me every day to go out and be around our veteran guys that stuck around, and some of them didn't have to, but they decided to and wanted to, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But I kind of refer to these guys as the usual suspects now. It's Red, it's Dion, it's Kobe, it's Vic and Aljay and Malin and George and Solomon and Jalen and Nick and Trevor and Tyler and Henry, and those guys. For a lot of people around our program, they're all on a first name basis and really should be. And one of the things about me is I appreciate guys that show up every day with a smile on their face. They're the same guy. You know what to expect. They bring their lunch pail and it's like the song "The Sultans of Swing," right? It doesn't matter whether there's anybody in the bar. It doesn't matter what the weather is. It doesn't matter the time or the place. Guys that just love being together and love what they do and know how to do it our way. And that's the philosophy. And we certainly have some guys that believe in it. There's been some lesser known players that have improved and stood out, and I think deserve some recognition. On the defensive line, Junior Poyser is a big, strong guy, and he's really, really improved his lateral quickness, his short area quickness. He's always been powerful, but it's translating more, and it's really been good to see him make a bunch of plays, not only in the run game, but also rushing the passer. We've got two young DNs, Demetrius Ballard and Shamar Reiser-Presley. They're impressive to look at. They're starting to figure it out. They're starting to be more productive in practice, and I think those guys will both help us on defense and special teams this year. On the back end, one guy I'm particularly proud of, Savion Brown, tore his Achilles last year against Toledo. That's a really serious injury, and some guys never really come back from it, and he's as good as new, if not better, and now he's got another year in the system, and he's sort of a big nickel safety linebacker for us, hybrid type guy. John Keogh, who played a lot of special teams last year, is playing more at safety. Ronell Davis, who we redshirted last year, keeps showing up on defense and special teams, safety, nickel. Oliver Bridges, big, strong corner. It's starting to translate more. He's starting to be more productive in practice. Our running back room is terrific. Besides Aljay, Lamar Sperling's had a really good preseason. Terrence Shelton is a really good back that played a lot last year on special teams. Messiah Birch is an explosive player. James McNeil, who redshirted, a local guy, has had a terrific preseason. Nino Hill, who's a true freshman, has got a bright future ahead of him. So we're going to really count on that running back room to help us not only in the backfield, but on special teams. All of those guys are going to have roles for us. I mentioned some of the receivers already. Chance Morrow's really come on this last week after a little bit of a slow start to begin preseason. It's been good to see him compete, make some plays, block on the perimeter better. Evan King's had a good preseason at tight end. So a lot of guys that are getting better, need to continue to get better, be more consistent. but we're seeing some good signs there. And I would say overall, I'm very pleased with this freshman class. They're low maintenance, and that's a huge compliment. They've acclimated themselves really well over the summer. One guy who stands out in that group, and it's extremely hard to be an offensive lineman and to make waves as a true freshman, just the physical component of it, the mental component. But Tommy Barr is a guy who's battling to get into two deep right now on the offensive line, and that's impressive in and of itself. Jason Wright, who's a true freshman quarterback, has got a very bright future ahead of him. I already mentioned Nino Hill. So a lot of good stuff to talk about. A lot of guys that I'm excited to be around every day. But all that being said, there's still a lot of work to be done here in the coming weeks. People always ask me this time of year, are you excited about the season? Well, of course I'm excited about the season. I'm grateful to get to do what I do, where I do it, around the people I get to do it. But I've been doing this a long time. I'm not a numbers guy, but I think I'm going to coach in my 200th game as a head coach at some point this fall, and so I've seen a lot. And I know how these things can go. It's not a round ball. It bounces a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different things that can happen. Seasons play out in different ways. Teams come together and gel differently. I just try to keep a relatively even keel and try to figure out the right buttons to push with any particular group. I do think this group's got a lot of potential. I do think I've got to keep pushing them. We've got to keep pushing them. They've got to keep pushing themselves. We'll see if they can handle coming off a year with a little bit of success. We'll see if they can handle now being a team that's not flying under the radar and an afterthought. It's good to be relevant, but there's a responsibility that comes along with that. So we'll see how it all goes and how it all plays out. But they are a good bunch of guys, and looking forward to continuing to work with them every day. So with that said, I'll open it up for your questions.
You talked about the success you guys were able to have last year. I think maybe from the outside, exceeding expectations. I don't know what the internal expectations were, but from the outside, you guys did have a lot of success. How do you approach that? How do you handle that? And how do you tell your team to view expectations? Some people address it and say, this is what we want to accomplish. Some people are like, no, week to week.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's hour to hour and day to day, not just week to week. This is where I'm glad I was an offensive lineman my whole career, because I just sort of do what I do, and you don't get too exciting. There's a line from the movie Patton where they say, all glory is fleeting, right? So you learn your lessons through the year. Just don't ever get too comfortable, right? And you're only as good as your last game. So that's how we approach every day. I think if we had a line of guys up here after me, they would probably tell you that I don't have any problem keeping them humble and making sure that we don't change our approach 1%. This is Western New York. We're a good fit for Western New York because we are a blue collar program, and that's how we're going to approach things. Good, bad, or ugly. We're going to be honest about it, what we're doing and how we're doing it, and that's not going to change.
How do you think last year's success played into not having a lot of guys transfer out, and also maybe your lack of desire to get a lot of transfers?
Yeah, well, certainly winning helps, but I think it's also about the mindset of the people when they come in the building every day. And when you are very intentional about bringing in good people that are going to fit, whether that's on the coaching staff, the support staff, the team itself. You're trying to build a culture and build a foundation where people are going to look at that every day and say, you know what, maybe the grass isn't greener. Maybe the fact that I know what to expect here and that I'm going to be treated well and that there's genuine care and concern and an investment in me as a person. And when I say investment, I mean adding value to their life in every way. Hopefully that matters. And I think not only to the players, but to the families of those players. When we recruit somebody and they sit in my office and we sense that there's a fit there, you know, this is going to be about a lot more than just football. This is going to be about developing you as a person and the kind of environment that you're going to be in for the next X number of years. And, you know, that's something you have to genuinely work at every day.
In terms of comfort level here and just where you feel where the program is at, when you think back to 1 year ago at this time and you're getting prepared to coach your first game here, and now you fast forward to now a 9-win season under your belt and everything, what's the biggest difference you feel like now as opposed to 1 year ago at this time?
Well, you get to know the lay of the land, right? And you're 1 year further into building all of these relationships on campus and in the community. And I'm very grateful for that. There are people that I've known here in Western New York and on this campus for a year and a half now that will be friends for the rest of my life, and people that I know I can pick up the phone and call, and they're going to understand, they're going to listen, they're going to want to be good partners in trying to move this thing forward the right way. You know, the relationships that we've built in the athletic department, you know, Heather Cooper in human resources and John Fuller in media relations, and Aaron Stang, who's our sports supervisor and who also oversees academics. And Aaron wears a lot of hats and does a lot of little things behind the scenes, you know, relative to revenue generation and so forth. You know, Kelly Cruttenden in compliance is a rock star, and Meg Prunty in equipment just works and works and works and takes so much pride in what she does. And there's so many others. Brian Broaden, our sports med operation, just continue to amaze me with how they find creative ways to get better at what they do. So we've got good partners in the department, and there's a lot of peace of mind for me with that. That, you know, when it comes to an injury, I know our players are going to be taken care of. We've got great relationships with our team doctors. And so if we need to see a specialist, we need to get an MRI, like those things are happening. And if you were in New York City, you might just be a blip on the radar screen, right? Or if you were in some little small town, and I've coached at some of those places in those little small towns, and all of a sudden you got to get in a van and drive an hour and a half to a major city to go, you know, get something done for the health and well-being of one of your players. So we've got a lot of those good things in place here. And even something like having a great airport 10 minutes away. And we've had pro scouts at just about every practice so far, and those guys can get in and out of here and check out our players, and then, you know, jump on a plane and move on to wherever they're going next. So there's a lot of good things about this place. There's a lot of work yet to be done to build this into a program that I think can be consistently successful, but we do have some really good people in some key areas.
Coach, I know there's a lot of excitement kind of going into this season. Again, you guys are building on last season. Everything from, you know, what the alumni expect when they come back into the stadium to, you know, people who maybe you weren't on their radar last year. They're certainly going to be, you know, watching you close, you know, putting butts in the stands this season, excuse me. What are some of the things that you're excited on, that you're building on, that, you know, maybe it's not just an in the locker room thing that everybody who's going to, you know, see any one of our reports needs to know about going into this thing?
Yeah, the winning certainly is the most noticeable part, right? Coming off a good season, getting people excited about coming to games. But I hope it goes well. Our players have been such great ambassadors for this university. You know, Red Murdoch is probably the best pro prospect on this team right now. we ask our guys to do one community service project per semester, and that could be a couple hours going to a soup kitchen, or it could be, doing a camp with youth over the summertime. Red did 11 in the spring. And he's the guy coming to us with new ideas to get out and about and to do different things. So every time you do that, you've got a chance to make an impression with people in the community. And hopefully, even more so than winning some games last year, the fact that we have such good guys on this team, such likable guys, such great representatives of this university, there's a lot to want to support. And so to me, that's the best part, that these guys have embraced getting out and about. The 12 guys that work summer internships this year, if you were in a different place with different caliber guys, they might have said, why do I want to do that? These guys understand, like, I need to build my resume. I may not be going and playing in the NFL, so let me get out there and start to network with business people in the Buffalo area. And so, one of my mantras, we've built a pretty good relationship with some of the folks in the Bills organization, and actually Brandon Bean's wife was here last week and participated in our women's night. And one of my new mantras is it's okay to be both a Bills fan and a Bulls fan, right? It's okay to come over here on a Saturday and then, stock up your refrigerator and get your house ready, get your basement ready to watch that Bills game on a Sunday. And heck, you could come over here for the same price as going to the movies, park for free, bring the kids over here, let them run around, get a draft beer and watch a good Division I college football game. So why wouldn't you?
How you have, I think, 4 of the first 6 games at home and an extra non-conference home game. How is that? How excited are you about that opportunity and extra home game early on?
Yeah, it's great, but it's going to be tough. We've got 2 group of 5 teams coming in here that are, I think, really high-end group of 5 football programs where those universities care a lot about football and are invested in football. We all know UConn, just because of being in the same region, and the big time basketball that they have at UConn trickles down to football, and that continues to be a program that aspires to great things and is resourced very well in football. And then Troy, has a lot of talented players and great tradition in football, great support for their program. And so, we've got to be hitting on all cylinders by mid-September here, because those are 2 very, very challenging opponents coming in.
You mentioned Red. He steps into some pretty important shoes, leadership-wise, on the field-wise, on defense. What have you seen the next steps that he's ready to take this year for those reasons?
Well, he's such a great student of the game, and he's gotten to a point where he can communicate really well with the rest of the defense. Last year, Sean Dolak, really had those responsibilities, and Red, even though he played so well, was still a work in progress in terms of that communication and overall leadership of the unit. But Red has really embraced that role and has really stepped in and continues to refine his game. It's just amazing, some of the things that he does. And it's really cool when these pro scouts come in. I don't feel like I need to promote Red at all to them. They've already done their research. They're already telling me, I see him doing this, and this, and it's pretty impressive for a guy that has his size and weighs over 230 pounds. And so I'm going to be excited to see him have another productive year, take on more responsibility. He's still the left guard on our punt team, which, if you're a starter on our punt team, that means you're one of the 11 most reliable guys in our program. And Red's got a lot of good help. Deion Crawford is really stepping up and had a nice season last year. Kobe and Mallon at defensive end, and we've got a lot of good help for Red in that front seven, as well as making some progress on the back end.
You ever talk to your guys? You mentioned the Bills a little bit ago. It's fairly unique that you're 25 minutes away and you've got 3 players from your program now over there. Do you ever talk to them about that, or does it ever come up of like, hey, look what like Cam and Jamarcus and Joe are doing in the NFL? I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you want all of your guys to have that kind of goal and aspiration and know that if they maximize their experience here, they're going to get a shot. All right, it's great to see what those guys are doing. It's great to see what Sean Dolak is doing this summer for the Rams, and sounds like he's got a chance to make it, and if not, hopefully be a part of their practice squad, or maybe get picked up by somebody else. All the reports out of LA are very positive so far. So it's good for your players to see those things, but at the same time, we realistically know that only a small percentage get that opportunity. And so my main responsibility is to continue to develop all of them in a holistic way so that they're not just getting a degree, but they're truly prepared for the real world. And those are the same things that Jen and I have tried to do with our own kids. And we've got 2 out now and 1 that'll be a sophomore at Elon this fall. And we look at our 113 players here the same way that we look at our own 3 children or young adults. If you can go into the real world and be different, be old school, have more of a Generation X type mentality, you're going to really differentiate yourself in a real positive way. And so that's my approach with our guys. And you know what? The pro scouts notice that stuff too.
Do you think the opportunities for MAC players to make it to the NFL is any different, more or less the same as it was, a decade ago?
That's a fair question. I think it's similar. I really do. I mean, we had a fair number of guys at Ball State that made it, or at least got those opportunities. But what's really cool for me 10 or 12 years later is not just the guys that got there and played a few years, and Willie Snead is still hanging around. He's going in the Ball State Hall of Fame this fall. He's one of a handful of my guys that are already in or going in, which is really cool. But I think about all the other guys, the guys that are working at Merrill Lynch, and the guys that have great sales careers, and the guys that are married and having families now, and those kinds of things. And I hope that someday when I'm hanging out and sitting on a dock or something with a fishing pole in my hand, that I'll be hearing from these guys here at UB with a lot of those very similar success stories.
For the guys playing right here, right now, in terms of guys being on national watch lists for awards, and the young guys coming up through this program, how do you kind of balance that and give people expectations in terms of this is what we want to be off the field, but especially here on the field, and all of that? Yeah,
those things are a bonus and a byproduct of previous success, right? And whether that's team success, unit success, individual success, those things are great. And hopefully those things help, like you said earlier, put butts in the seats and get people excited about the season. What I worry more about is how can we bring this group together and help this group reach its potential. That's what it is about for me at the end of the day. Last year's team, and somebody was very kind with their question earlier. There's no question last year's group overachieved in a big way, right? I mean, that was a team that was picked 10th in the conference. That was a team that people were predicting might win 3 games, right? And we went 8-4 in the regular season and then won a bowl game against a really good group of 5 program. So that team will be etched in history here at UB. And for me personally, you know, I've coached on a lot of 8-4 teams in my career. I've been on 8-4 teams that underachieved and 8-4 teams that overachieved. That one overachieved, right? So to me, you know, we're going to get to a point December or whatever, and we're going to look back on this season and we're going to say, did we find a way as a team, as a coaching staff, as an entire group, support staff, everything, everybody that goes in it. When I send out that message and it goes to 275 people, because it includes student managers and it includes, you know, student assistants in sports med and video people and everybody that touches this program on a daily basis, were we able to bring them together and maximize their potential? And I don't know what that ends up being, but that's the goal. And all of that other stuff is really cool, but it's not the most important thing to me.
Why is Taquan Roberson the right guy to lead your organization, your team this year?
You know what? He carries himself as a quarterback should, and don't get me wrong, like, we still have a battle going on, and Gunnar Gray is certainly competing with him every day, and Jason Wright, you know, he flashes at times and you say, wow, what a bright future he's got. But getting back to Taquan specifically, he carries himself like a quarterback, and you know, there's a responsibility that goes along with the position. There's a demeanor, there's a work ethic. There's a mentality in terms of putting in the time and watching the film and being self-critical, you know, carrying yourself a certain way, whether things go really well or not so well. So I like that part of him. It reminds me a lot of when Spencer Rattler came to South Carolina, and you know, Spencer's first season there, you know, we struggled at times early to find a rhythm offensively. He got much better when November rolled around, and I think we had a better idea of how to best utilize his talents. But there's a way you carry yourself. And, you know, the thing Spencer did was he knew everybody's name, even though he was an older guy. He acclimated himself extremely well in the locker room. And TQ does a lot of the same things.
What does Taquan need to show to win that starting job, and Gunnar as well?
Yeah, I would say just consistency. And one thing I've said all along, and I think it continues to be true, you know, Gunnar's been in the system longer, and Gunnar doesn't have a cannon of an arm, but he generally knows where to go with the ball, and he's comfortable back there. And TQ is still learning some of the nuances, but he's really flashed at times. You know, yesterday we had a 2-minute drill that ended up resulting in a touchdown and some really nice plays that he made over the course of that drive. So we need to see more of that every day. But as you guys know, I'm always about ongoing competition, whether it's at quarterback or any other position. And I'm glad that we have more of it this year compared to this time last year.
Coach, you spoke earlier about tough opponents. Obviously, you start the season on the road, primetime environment, and at a Big Ten school in Minnesota. How do you view that as maybe sort of a good measuring test for your team right off the bat to start the season?
Yeah, I love first games, and it's less about who you're actually playing, and it's more about the challenge of playing well. In my career, I believe that first games are won and lost by teams that play efficiently, play clean football, don't have self-inflicted wounds. I think about our first game at Ball State in 2011, and we played Indiana at Lucas Oil Stadium, and we just didn't screw it up. We didn't turn it over. We didn't have a lot of penalties. We got first downs when we were supposed to. We punted when we were supposed to punt. And we didn't give up explosive plays on defense. And then we made a couple plays that guy I was alluding to that works at Merrill Lynch right now caught a game-winning touchdown pass, probably the biggest play in his career. So those are the things you need to do. And look, Lafayette came in here last year off a Patriot League championship, and I was concerned about Lafayette because I knew that they were going to be a really well-coached team with some veteran players and certainly not afraid of coming to UB. And I hope that we can go into Minnesota and play well regardless of the fact that it's a Big Ten team and a Big Ten environment. It's all about us and trying to play good, clean football.
All right, thanks everyone. We're gonna head out, take a team photo in the stands, and then bring the guys, players into the field house here. You can maybe get one-on-ones with them if you like. All right, thank you.
All right, guys, good stuff. We'll see you soon. Thanks for your time.